Greetings, Earthlings. Well, it's been a minute since I gave you guys an update regarding the radio, our infamous TBR-119 radios. As you can see, I have two of them here. So, story behind that is I have a friend of mine who lives near me. I think I've alluded to him in some videos, and he's made another video about his experiences and his adventure with this thing. He's done a lot of modifications to it, as you can see. He's put the Guohe type antenna masts on there and actual H250 military connections, stuff like that. I mean, I've painted it. Thing looks like it's done a few tours in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places. But anyway, he's made a video on his final thoughts with this, and I basically had to beg him to not do another video with, let's just say, fireworks and testing some of the stuff that's in the videos about cars driving over your radio and other crazy stuff. Like, who the frick would do that? He wanted to actually do kind of a funny video like that, permanently putting this thing out of his misery. I had to convince him not to. I'm like, give it to me, I'll keep it safe for now, and then we'll just keep on testing and banging on these things together. So I'm able to do a lot of next to testing. I can go from one to the other and play with it. And anyway, back to the update. There is no update. It's been April since they released version 3.4.1, early April. And as many times as myself and every other developer, engineer, user of the Q900, the TBR-119, have begged and asked, all we hear is, dear, we are working on testing, we'll get back to you, or, so something similar to that, but no dates, no promises, no nothing. If I want to positively assume anything, it's that they are actually testing it now and doing some diligent testing on it. I don't want to assume the negative on them. I'm hoping that they're like anybody else. They're trying to do a good job for themselves, for the company, for their product. Take some pride in what they're trying to produce. But it's been a minute, so at least if they could give us some deadlines, it would be appreciative. They've also been heads down with releasing a new product called a PMR-171, I believe. So you're going to start seeing videos and postings on YouTube of that, which is basically, it's a hybrid of this and the Q900. So they took some of the wanted features, like all top accessible antennas and microphones and stuff like that, backpackable type features of the 119, but without all the weight, without all the tank weight of these things. Because all said and done, between the battery and the radio is 26 pounds, like 13 kilos or something. So when they've done this PMR-171, it's like a fusion, so it doesn't have any of the ruggedness or the waterproofness or any of that type of stuff of these things, but it has a lot of the desktop type mobile regular ham radio features of a Q900. They just came out with it, so I'm assuming, once again, trying to assume positive intent, that they've been heads down trying to get that product out the door. But as is typical with a lot of them and their other similar brands, they don't service their existing clientele and existing software releases and updates and all that. They don't do that very well. They kind of focus on the new thing, hope that gets out the door. We do beta testing for them as it releases, and then once we purchase it, and then that'll eventually move down the slot in line of priority for them as a new product comes out or whatever it may be. Anyway, like I said, I'm kind of shelving this for now, to be honest with you. I no other way to say it. A lot of the promises are not been made. A lot of the fixes are not coming. It's been 5.5 months now, and at least if they gave us some deadlines to adhere to, I would welcome that and positively promote the product, saying, hey, they're working. They're not. They're not giving us any updates. They're not telling us what's been worked on. There's no, and if you work in IT, you have the existing SDLC, software development lifecycle, of when you're producing software, when you're doing bug fixes, all of those type of things. You have a backlog if you're using an agile type framework, where you list your bugs and you pick them up, and none of that exists in their world, or they're not telling us if it does. so none of us can see, we don't exposure. A lot of the other begging going on by, there's a WhatsApp forum regarding the Q900, this, and then the new product, the PMR-171. They don't post there very frequently. They don't give us updates. Like the last night they posted some video of a guy using this with nice clear audio. He's on HF from the looks of the video. You know, he's got the 9-foot whip antenna on there, but crystal clear. It sounds great. But when you look up close, it's probably in the 40-meter band. HF, you know, the big 9-foot whip antenna, fully extended. But when I look on the waterfall, the signal is extremely strong, which means that his partner's probably within a few hundred yards. Looks like he's on top of a hilltop looking down to a valley. 10 to 1 says his partner's on the bottom of the valley and they're shooting a radio shot up the hill. Okay, great, nice and clear when you got a 400-yard shot. Who gives a damn? All the other things don't work. I've been doing a lot of testing with this using different softwares. Vara, for example, I've been using Vara, HF, and it was honestly garbage with this. It was my, and I had a Xiegu G90 right next to this. I plugged the antenna out of this, plug it into the G90, crystal. I was getting, with an NVIS antenna, I was getting a dipole wire NVIS antenna. I was getting, the longest one I've done so far has been 215 miles, crystal clear on the G90, on both audio, you know, using a microphone, and on the software. As soon as I switch over to this, garbage. Really staticky. The S rating on this was like -20, but on the exact same antennas, same wattage power, same everything except the rig transmitting was like, it was -2, which was phenomenal on the G90 for the exact same shot. So once again, in good conscience, as of right now, this is, you know, we're in September of 23. I'm not going to recommend this thing to anybody because so many of us are tired of begging and pleading with Guohe to give us updates, to tell us what's happening with it, you know, just make positive forward progress. When we ask some things, kind of the comments are snarky, they're condescending. Like when I gave the honest report of my G90 versus this, his answer was, well, give both of them, take both of them for a swim and see which one comes out better. And well, then it's an anchor, because it's 26 pounds of metal that can't transmit. So it's an anchor versus the G90 working. You know, that's the type of interaction we have with them, that it's kind of that snarky, defensive communication. He's not saying, okay, I understand what you're saying, try this, try that, adjust this setting, adjust that setting. None of it's like positive. He's like, this is professional rig, you should know better. If only meant for professional, you know how to use. That's kind of the gist of, and there's a lot of, on that WhatsApp chat, that's how we do our primary communication with Guohe. Like I said, this is very defensive, and there's a lot of engineers, a lot of software engineers, electrical engineers, you know, no joke radio, amateur radio people that, you know, these guys are good. So they're not lying, they're not making it up. We all want to get this to work, and they're not doing that. There's a lot of begging to make the software outsource so we can kick it up a notch. Well, I suspect that Guohe is trying to market this to certain military organizations around the planet. As we know, the PRC are trying to do, and the PLA are trying to get out there with their brand and help people in underdeveloped countries or less developed countries, and using this type of products to sell them. Well, good luck with that. It gives me solace that if this is what the product that the PLA are using, we don't have a lot to worry about. But anyway, but back to the matter at hand. For right now, until they can come up with something more substantial, more reliable, because that's the biggest thing with these, is it's like always 2 steps forward, you know, 1 step sideways and 1 step back. So they'll fix 2 things, they'll add a new feature which is iffy if it works, and then they'll break something else. And that was the problem with this. Like as soon as they come out with 341, the very first test I did was DMR. Didn't work. It was badly broken. and it eventually comes down to settings. I was actually figuring it, just playing with both of them side by side in the settings that I can go literally side by side. And I changed something, and it was nothing to do with DMR, because there's not really a lot of DMR settings within the radio to mess with. And I changed something, and all of a sudden it worked. Now, not reliably, that I have these two next to each other, and I have another Anytone 878 that I can verify as an out of brand unit that I can test DMR, transmit, receive, all those type of things. And it's not reliable. Like I'm maybe 70% of the time my 119 is actually transmitting. My buddy's my buddy's 119 was consistently transmitting, and we had the exact same firmware. But when I roll mine back to 3.2.1 version, it worked fine the whole time. I rolled it forward to 3.4.1, it was broken. I rolled this one forward to 3.4.1, and it worked. But they were almost the same settings, and it was just playing with, and you know, I turned on and off like so many settings. I don't even know which one eventually remediated, but it was clearly a bug in the software. It wasn't settings regarding the radio or DMR specifically. So anyway, the long and the short of this, in summary, unless they're going to fix the software for this, the Q900, and I suspect the PMR-171, because I don't know how many people are actually using that, because anybody who's used this, the Q900 specifically, because that's, you know, obviously much more widespread and, you know, more distributed, is the exact same bugs and the type of problems people are seeing with them, and then the lack of support and the snarky responses regardless of model. I think people are going to be very suspect to purchase the PMR-171 until that happens. So my advice to you for right now, don't go there. Stay away from the Q900, the PMR-171, and the TBR-119 until they come up with a substantial software fix. If they do that, I'm going to upload it, I'm going to test them, and I will post another video letting you guys know. But until that time, that's all I have. Sorry, I wish I had more positive updates for you, but I really don't have anything right now. So that's all I have. So until that time, good luck, and you know, I'll post something new as soon as they release it. All right, have a good one.